Shout out to G-Man Boxing. Where's the piss bottle? It's over there.
Canelo Alvarez recently gave an interview with a guy called Graham Bensinger. Now, I've seen a few of the interviews he's conducted with certain people over the years. He's actually quite a good interviewer, to be fair. And this was actually a very good interview. Subtitled, but well edited, I got to give him that. And it was with Canelo Alvarez. Now, Canelo touched on several different things. He touched on Floyd Mayweather, if they fought, now how it would go. Several different things Canelo touched on in this, his career in a nutshell. He even talked about his brother having some issues, we'll call it that. For YouTuber, he's not going to go. The interview's there in the lead up to the Rocky Fielding fight. The interesting part of this that I want to read on this, and you'll see by the thumbnail, very good thumbnail, thanks to Big Dan for that, is what he said about Oscar De La Hoya. Now, I have a snippet of the quote he said here. I'm going to be paraphrasing some of this as well, because there's a lot more in this than what's just being read in this quote here. It's about a 5-minute long segment about Oscar De La Hoya. It's very good. It's very interesting. Canelo really, for a long time it seems, was not happy with the whole situation with Oscar De La Hoya. And before I read this, he touched on the issues he was having with... He didn't necessarily name the specific title at middleweight. When he was originally middleweight champion, when he was fighting at Canelo weight 155 pounds, he was Ring Magazine champion, WBC champion. Apparently he was happy because there was issues with negotiations and stuff like that to let one title go. But whatever way Golden Boy did it, he ended up losing both titles as far as I'm aware. It's been a while now, so I can't remember, and he wasn't happy with that. He also alluded to the fact that since Miguel Cotto, he's really not been too happy with Golden Boy. And he's been really taking digs at Oscar De La Hoya. I'm going to quote him here directly. This is a quote from Canelo Alvarez. He said he doesn't do anything in Golden Boy. He's worried about drinking and being involved in other things. God only knows what they are. When Richard Schaefer left, get your popcorn ready, he took boxers to PBC. I was the only boxer that stayed. Later I understood why everyone is gone. Canelo spoke a lot about loyalty as well in this interview. That's the end quote, by the way. He spoke a lot about loyalty in this interview, and that he felt himself a loyal character, but it was almost like, I'm paraphrasing again, but it was almost like too much had gone. And he was quite right in the sense that he was saying that, I think he alluded to the fact, I could be wrong with this, but he definitely said that there was an $8 million clause he was willing to pay De La Hoya, I think as far back as 2015, to get out of it. He's saying now that he is a free agent, although he's working with Eddie Hearn, he's essentially doing things his own way, and he's much happier now because he just wants to be fighting. For him, it's more about fighting. But at the end of the day, he said that it's not about money, but it's about being treated fairly. And before I go on to more what he said there, he was mentioning the fact that Oscar De La Hoya allegedly, now this is what Canelo was saying, this is what he said in the interview, it's a very good interview, I recommend you go watch it, that Oscar De La Hoya and DAZN agreed for him to face Triple G without Canelo being, made privy to the negotiations. Essentially, he was going to be paid his flat fee. So when he signed with DAZN, it was meant to be, God only knows how many million he'd get per fight. But as Canelo stated, one of the stipulations was that a name like a Golovkin or a Mayweather, a big marquee name that would be pay-per-view, on any other platform, he would be able to negotiate a deal for that. So essentially, if he was meant to get, we'll chuck a ballpark number, 30 million, that would have been his flat fee for fighting, we'll say, Rocky Fielding, Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders. For a Triple G, he would get that, but he'd be able to negotiate to say, well, this is what I should be getting, but I want X, Y, and Z. So we get extras. That wasn't the case, is what he's alleged to have said is what was going on with Oscar De La Hoya and DAZN. Therefore, he felt the need to, as he said, he had no issue going down the legal road because, as he said, he done nothing wrong, he done everything right. So if you've done everything right, you've nothing to hide, you have no fear about it. He's a lot happier now, as he said, that he's now a free agent, and as he said, he's fighting regularly. As again, I must recommend you go watch, it's very interesting. But what he says here about De La Hoya and Schaefer leaving, well, I know that Oscar De La Hoya, that was several years ago now, where all his fight, well, not all of them, but the majority of them went to PBC. He was really left with hardly any fighters. He was left with guys like David Lemieux, Canelo Alvarez, At the time, Luis Ortiz was still signed with Golden Boy, because Luis Ortiz only left Golden Boy towards the end of 2016. So he was still there while Schaefer was gone. I think Schaefer left in around that time. You know, he lost Deontay Wilder. Let's not forget, Deontay Wilder was promoted by Golden Boy for a long time. He's promoted by Golden Boy when he won the world titles. He was promoted by them for a long time. So a lot of these fighters left. And as Canelo said, it was really Richard Schaefer who done all the work with Golden Boy. It was never really De La Hoya. You know, I remember back to when Canelo fought Mayweather. And it was only in the build, like the days leading up to that fight, I think De La Hoya announced he was going back to rehab. So De La Hoya, and look, I heard De La Hoya on commentary. I didn't watch the Jake Paul Ben Askren fight, but I watched the Steve Cunningham fight, and I had to turn the commentary off listening to De La Hoya. I couldn't believe that was De La Hoya, because he just sounded all over the place. I don't want to say he anything like that, but he just sounded a bit all over the place. So from what Canelo has been saying in that interview, De La Hoya didn't come across as the easiest guy in the world to work with, and it seemed like De La Hoya was the poster boy for Golden Boy along with Canelo. But it really wasn't him doing that, at all, really. Canelo was kind of doing his own thing behind the scenes, and it was other guys doing the work. When Schaefer left, that kind of core with Golden Boy left. He said that Golden Boy don't care about the fighter. I remember when Oscar first started promoting back in the mid-2000s, it was the mid or late 2000s. And at the time, I think boxers were saying who signed with Golden Boy that this was the first time they'd ever been sent paychecks where it had a breakdown of what they were paid, how they were paid. So with Oscar not being, maybe at the start, because he was not long removed from his career, maybe he was fairer than he is now. Again, I'm going on what Canelo was saying here. I'm not saying it's necessarily all legit what he said. I suspect a lot of it is, to be fair, but I just found it very interesting. And that's what he's had to say about Golden Boy. Realistically, Golden Boy now is, they have Ryan Garcia, barely, because he's had some issues with Golden Boy over the last year. They have Virgil Ortiz, who I think really can do. Ryan Garcia and Virgil Ortiz are the two saving graces for Golden Boy as far as I'm concerned, because Ryan Garcia, he is going places. Whether he's going places in a boxing ring, he ticked a lot of boxes for me against Luke Campbell, but there's still a few unknowns there. But in terms of his generic following as a fighter, I mean, he's a box office draw. Simple as. So Oscar will be looking to keep him. What was the other guy? Virgil Ortiz. Virgil Ortiz is talented as hell, and for my money, he is one of the he's not a prospect anymore. He's a contender, and he's one of the most exciting contenders around. So they're two saving graces for Golden Boy. But Canelo, there's definitely, judging by what I saw in the interviews, there's a lot of animosity there towards De La Hoya. It definitely seems that way. That it's almost as if it was building for years. He was mentioning the Cotto fight, which was 2015, the back end of 2015. So it's almost like that's been simmering for years. And now that he's no longer promoted by Oscar De La Hoya, he can just kind of vent that frustration, just let it all out there. That's kind of what I gathered from watching that interview with Canelo. It's a fascinating watch. Although it's subtitled, because Canelo's obviously speaking in Spanish, it's very well edited, very well done, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So I said I'd make a video on it, have a talk about it, and there's my 2 cents on it. Be interesting to see what Canelo does post Billy Joe, assuming he gets by Billy Joe, and I'm giving Billy Joe a shred of confidence that he can do something. I'm still picking Canelo to win, but I'm not going to go and say he's going to beat Billy Joe and it's a foregone conclusion. No, I give Billy Joe a chance in this fight. I'm going to get the prediction video out this week, hopefully, and we'll talk a bit more about how I think the fight's going to go down. As for now, lads and lassies, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you're having a happy Thursday. I hope you're enjoying yourself. I hope the day is great for all yous, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the video. #GMansRocks, all that good stuff. Lads and lassies, have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you. Peace.